Do you think that the human element of interacting with different types of people is part of the craft? Or do you think that's something that is essential but not part of the craft? It's something on the side because it depends on what type of client segment you're addressing or helping out or
Yeah,
serving
no,
for
I,
that.
I say it's the latter. It's definitely essential, but not necessarily part of the craft.
Hmm.
Well, it depends on how loosely or generally or kind of specifically you're defining the craft. If the craft is cutting a pattern, fitting a suit, or making a jacket and trousers and fitting it and finishing
Hmm.
it, if that's the craft, then how you act with the client isn't part of the craft. But if you look at it in terms of the service that we offer as tailors,
Hmm.
it's certainly an essential part of the service
Hmm.
because I have had clients who do not want to say anything more than hello and goodbye.
Hmm.
Now, if I try to have a conversation with them, I'm
Hmm.
diminishing their experience at their tailor.
Hmm.
And even though they might like what I offer them, if I continually diminish that experience, then
Hmm.
they will look for somewhere else where they can have both a well-made suit that they like and the experience that they're looking for.
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
same is true. The converse is true. If someone wants to have a chat and I just keep on shutting them down
Yeah.
because I want to focus only on my work,
Hmm.
then that again diminishes their experience.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so let's puzzle some of the thoughts together. Let's see how they fit, right? I'm really enjoying this conversation because it is an actual dialogue. We're going back and forth, and I like that.
Good.
So let's say we are tailors are what was it, commercial artists, correct?
That was the term.
Okay, let's take that idea for example, right? Because there is merit in it, I think. And
Yeah.
we say if you're a commercial artist, then you need to translate the client's desires and wishes and needs as good as you can with the technical abilities that you've developed into a product that could make them happy and make them feel better about themselves or about even the world for that matter, right?
Mhm.
So suppose you're not a tailor, you don't have the skills yourself, you have access to someone who has the skills, but you're very good in translating a thought into some spec sheet or a design, and then you could work with someone who has the techniques and you bring that together, client happy, right? What does that make the person who doesn't have the skills but is the one who actually meets the demand of the client?
What do you mean? I mean, are we giving them a label? As are they a tailor? Are they a cutter? Are they a salesperson? Or are you saying what is their value within the industry?
Yeah, I think labels won't be helpful. I think what I'm trying to kind of like understand, because I don't try I'm not trying to get at something. I'm just it's an open question, right? So
Yeah,
if
right.
if yeah.
Well, because I would say that that's just if we boil it down to two individuals, one that's great at working with a client and understanding their needs and then translating that into a spec sheet, and
Hmm.
then the second individual who can then realize that into a tangible garment.
Hmm.
That's just a great business. that's the perfect partnership. I
Hmm.
wouldn't necessarily label it as anything, but they what has happened in my mind is that you have taken a business that could be run by a single person and just you know divvied up the workload. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, as you know, I am a bit of a one man band. I don't make the clothing. I have tailors that will make, but I cut the patterns, I do the fittings, I answer all the emails,
Hmm.
social media, all of that. And for a small business, I'm able to do that. But it's taxing, and I am constantly having my attention diverted elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If I had someone who could work well with clients, who can take some of that off my board,
Mm-hmm.
that would potentially allow me to grow in ways that I might not be able to on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So really, it's just about, I guess, it's just about having a great partnership. I mean, I just see that as a tailoring firm.
Mm-hmm. 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 Do you think that tailoring without a client, well, how should I formulate this? This is, help me formulate this if I don't manage, right?
All right.
Does tailoring lose its value if there is no client? If there were no clients for the tailors, but tailors would just continue making for the sake of making, would tailoring as a craft lose its value, or do you think there are deeper values within the craft that are outside of the domain of serving a client in the best possible way?
Well, okay, so I think, and I've heard this from lots of people, and it's always a bit of a joke in the industry that the clients are the worst part of the business. It would be such a great business if we didn't have any clients, because we wouldn't have to work to deadlines. We could perfect everything. Yeah. But I think that's largely true with any industry.
Mm.
If Ford could just focus in on making the perfect car without having to, worry about sales and profits,
mm-hmm.
as employees and owners, they would love that. But we all confined to, having clients and making sure that they're happy. I think the relevance of tailoring would be diminished, mm-hmm. but the value of the techniques would remain. Mm-hmm. And it would be similar to techniques or traditions that have been lost to history that mm-hmm. we know exist, but we do not know how they were implemented or the methodology that was used.
Right.
So, you hear about, I don't know, I mean, this is going to be a terrible example, like Stradivarius and, the pigment in the actual varnish. Mm-hmm. We don't know what was, what that pigment was. That has been lost to history. There is mm-hmm. value in knowing what that technique was. Mm-hmm. 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 Does it affect your garden variety violinist or your, professional violinist? No. Mm-hmm. But there's still value in it. Mm-hmm. Or there was a really famous, I think, late 20th century designer that was who patented a way of pleating fabric. Mm. I learned about him when I was like 18. So, but his method was lost. And the pleats that he made kind of early 20th century are still look fairly good in the 21st century. Mm. And usually that doesn't happen. Pleats kind of fall, the way the fabric is treated and pressed, pleats will kind of usually kind of go flat over time. That technique has been lost. Again, does it affect the everyday clothing wearer? No. But there's value in that. And I think the same is true for tailoring.
Mm-hmm. Are you the type of person that thinks of tailoring as an art form or not?
No,
if you really had to go black and white.
No.
No, not an art form.
No.
Okay.
I think I akin it more to structural engineering or architecture. I think it's a very pragmatic. I think there are some tailors that add a lot of artistic elements that could arguably make it more of an art form. Mm-hmm. But I think that I have a real sense of purpose for why I make clothing. I like making clothes that can be lived in and worn, and that fit, that are almost invisible kind of background scenery to someone's life.
Beautiful.
That's there, yeah, but it's not at the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, I mean, even with how I'm trying to develop my style, it's much more soft-shouldered, less padded. It's about things that you can just move around in, lie down in. It's about living in rather than the uniform, that kind of military tradition that a lot of tailors go down, which is beautiful and I love to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never felt comfortable wearing those things. I like being able to kind of just like slump into a big cozy chair, and I want a jacket that will allow me to do that.
Yeah.